Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, this show is all about sports from all across the globe. What you guys can do is surely reach us on our social media handles, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports, which will be obviously on the Twitter side and Instagram side. But what I'll do is I'll move to the headlines first. Yes, Pakistan versus South Africa. Pakistan manages to defeat South Africa in the first T20 on Thursday in Gaddafi Stadium. West Indies all out against Bangladesh, but not to forget that Bangladesh is still in the chase. The day ends with 105 for 4. And Barnsley won against Chelsea by 1-0 on Thursday. And Rafael Nadal celebrated victory against Michael Moe on Thursday. And for the world of NBA, Boston Celtics won against Toronto Raptors by 120 to 106. And yes, those were the headlines with regards to Pakistan versus South Africa. The first T20 match that actually took place, one of a seriously mind-blowing performances. Mohammad Rizwan proving his worth, proving himself as literally one of the best contenders so far. And yes, overall as a team, Pakistan did manage to bring the score up to 169 and then stopping South Africa on 166 for 6. Anyways, to discuss more of this, we have with us former cricketer Yasir Arafat. Yasir, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And let's firstly, let me congratulate you with regards to the victory that we had. It had been an electrifying match. The performance of the boys is literally spot on. I think we are now right on the right direction with regards to having the right team of T20, and not only T20, we also sweep the test matches. So how do you see this evolution helping Pakistan cricket team go further?
Yeah, if you see Pakistan overall performance going back into the test series, which Pakistan won convincingly 2-0. Starting off from Karachi, Pakistan played exceptional cricket there. The new induction of the players into the Pakistan team, I think, lifted Pakistan's morale and the performances of the Pakistan team. Noman Ali and Yasir Shah bowled exceptionally well on that low turning pitch, and the batsmen like Fawad Alam had a great knock along with Fahim Ashraf and Azhar Ali. They showed that they can score a big score on the board, and your bowling can back you up to win the games. Right. And then coming into the Pindi test, it was Hassan Ali's show, who got 10 wickets in the game, 5 and 5, and he was coming back after a long break time, yeah, from the Pakistan, from the international cricket. He missed so much cricket because of the injury. So he performed well in the domestic, and he came back. He continued his performance from the first class into the international cricket, which is heartening to see. And then again, Rizwan showed his class in the test match, because he's been doing so well for Pakistan in the batting department for over a year. If you call him a Mr. Consistent, that is I think the right word for Rizwan at the moment.
Absolutely.
He continued his form into the T20 as well. So a good sign for Pakistan cricket overall, bowling wise and batting wise.
Yes, let's talk about this interesting electrifying match that actually happened. As you said, Mohammad Rizwan is literally proving himself as the Mr. Consistent. And I think Pakistan surely needs this, because once we have players and the support and the backbone like him, obviously the entire squad actually lifts the spirit up. The way he played those shots, the way he chipped the ball, it was so electrifying to see. But not to forget that when South Africa began their journey in chasing the total of 169, if you remember, Malan actually started hitting on the next level. He scored like 44 runs in 29 balls. And not to forget that this was a different team, because initially they had to have a different team, but then de Kock announced that Clayson will be heading this one, and they will be going for a tour to Australia, which obviously got postponed. So we did have new people on board as well, those who didn't really get a chance to show their worth. But how do you see South Africans' performance?
I think looking that both teams have a few new names into their squads. Pakistan is missing their key players likes of Muhammad Hafiz. He is the backbone of Pakistan batting in T20 cricket at the moment. And again, Shadab Khan, he and Imad Wasim, two top class spinners which Pakistan is missing in this series. So if you looking at the South African team, they are missing their key players, like you mentioned few names, Quinton de Kock, Wunderdussen, and other Duplessis and Rabada. Right. So on paper, if you compare both teams, they have new names into their teams. But looking at the first match which Pakistan played in Lahore against South Africa, although South Africa, as you mentioned, the start they had was typically T20 start, which normally you see nowadays in international cricket. But Pakistan, if you see Pakistan start, first 6 overs was not up to the mark, because we lost few wickets early on, and then we lost Babar Azam in the first over, and then the strike rate, we always had a discussion or you call a debate on Muhammad Rizwan's strike rate. This is a concerning point for Pakistan batting at the moment, which we need to address and which we need to rectify. And if we looking ahead for the World Cup or the other games, playing against one of the best teams like England, New Zealand, or South Africa, when we're going to South Africa in April. So these things will create problem for Pakistan team. So we need to address those things to looking for the World Cup, which is being played in India.
Right. So how do you see our squad? Obviously is planning on heading to South Africa, which was announced today, which is going to be from somewhere around 2nd of April to the 16th of April. And they'll be playing 3 ODIs and 4 T20 matches. And not only that, from there they will be heading on to Zimbabwe for 3 tests and 2 tests and 3 T20s. So how do you see Pakistan performing once they're out of their home ground? We'll surely be looking at the same team, but then moving on to South Africa, like stadiums like Johannesburg and stuff, how do you see that impacting the team's performance?
See, that is the problem when Pakistan team played against big teams or the Sena conditions like South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, or England. When they tour these kind of conditions or the countries, playing against one of the best teams in the world, they do get exposed. Their fielding, their bowling, and even their batting gets badly exposed against the top quality teams. So looking into that, mentioning about the Pakistan touring South Africa in April is going to be a tough tour. Playing in home conditions against some sort of a mediocre team, which at the moment South Africa team are missing their few players, their key players. You can hide things, can be go under the carpet. Your mistakes can go under the carpet. But when you up against the top teams in the world, you do get exposed. So there will be a lot of pressure on the players. But as I said, that the players we are missing at the moment, like Hafiz, Imad Wasim, and Shadab Khan, they will get back into the squad, and then it will make a good team, a good T20 team. And again, I think Hassan Ali inclusion might be possibility if Fahim Ashraf don't do well in the T20, he can replace him, and that in that case Pakistan can be a good side to play with. And I hope when Pakistan tours South Africa, they will play up to the up to their standards, where they are they are famous of playing attacking cricket with no fear of failure. So things like that. If Pakistan play with that frame of mind, they will definitely do well in South Africa.
Well, I hope and I pray that they actually do well. The squad's still yet announced, and we still have the upcoming further T20s that are lined up. But whenever our team goes to these conditions, like as you mentioned, if it's South Africa, if it's New Zealand, or any other nations where we have a fear of facing those shorter deliveries, how do we work on specifically that when it comes to the batting side?
See, that is a problem with Pakistani batsmen playing on a slow and low pitches. Your technique develop into that habit of playing everything on the front foot. Whereas if you go on to the overseas conditions, South Africa or Australia, where the ball bounces a bit more than the Asian conditions.
Right.
That's where Pakistani players do get exposed, and their force can be visible and can be exploited by the oppositions.
Right.
So Pakistan need to prepare mentally, technically well before going into that South African tour, because after that Pakistan needs to go to Zimbabwe and then England in the summer. So Pakistan is going to play some tough cricket in the future. So Pakistan, as everybody knows, the PSL is starting next week, and then Pakistani players do get busy in the domestic tournament PSL.
Right.
So I'm sure the coaching staff and the people involved in the franchise cricket will develop the techniques of our players according to the conditions which they are going to face in the future.
Right. So that's like an interesting take that, obviously there's more time for them to practice themselves. And not to forget, what we'll do is we'll take a break. But before that, I'll just put in a word that, after the break, we'll be discussing about how Pakistan cricket team, when goes to another country, not only the bowling side or the pitch that we talk about, we'll talk about the COVID-19 situation that is still alarming out there and how much it would impact our team. We'll see you guys after the break. And welcome back. And yes, we are talking about Pakistan versus South Africa. The T20 that we actually managed to win, that was the first T20 happened in Gaddafi. And not to forget that Mohammad Rizwan's 104, which was definitely a big success and actually brought in the team towards that victory side. But as we were discussing before the break with Yasir Arafat, the former cricketer, that we were talking about how impactful would the situation be for our team when we go abroad, because there is a tour lined up for Pakistan visiting South Africa. Yasir, if they go for that tour, the team members are usually put up in an isolation. I don't know what are the restrictions on South African side, because when South Africa was actually inviting Australian team over, they gave them a very leveraged perspective, and they said we'll keep a very cool and calm situation with regards to the COVID-19 situation and the quarantining. How do you see that impacting our team if we go and it's just like another quarantine situation that actually happened in New Zealand?
I think it's a difficult time for everybody. Every sports and every human being is struggling with this and coping with this. And I think we need to live with it for at least another year, because people are getting vaccinated slowly and gradually, and people are getting their vaccines. But that will, I think, going to take at least another year. People have to live with it, and the teams. It's not an excuse, but because all the teams are doing and complying all the things they've been told to do from the government. If you see England team, they've been in the bubble for the last whole year, because they played in the summer, the whole year they played, and they went to Sri Lanka, and then they into India now at the moment, playing 4 test match series and then the one day series. So it is difficult for everybody. Pakistani players had a very rough experience of this when they were in New Zealand a few months back, and they don't have they don't want to do that again, because they were in the quarantine for 14 days, which they should have to only 3 days they have to quarantine. But unfortunately, because of the few mistakes from the players, they had to quarantine for 14 days. I'm sure this won't be the case this time going into the South Africa.
Right.
But having said that, the conditions in South Africa or the Zimbabwe is not as good as other countries, because Australia is recently refused to go there because of the new surge there. New virus is appearing there in South Africa.
Right.
Pakistan women is coming back from Zimbabwe after playing one ODI.
Right.
So conditions are not good. The situation is not good there. But hopefully, finger crossed, with the passage of time, I hope by the time when we will be in April, the situation will be better. And it's a good gesture from Pakistan actually announcing now that we are going in April. It will be a good boost for South Africa as well, because they were struggling, because England cancelled their tour when they were playing in a few months back, and now Australia. And then it's a good gesture from Pakistan Cricket Board at the moment. But
Right.
Pakistan need to analyze again how the situation will be in April. Then they will decide again that they want to go or not.
Right. But yet again, I still think that, with regards to what went through the minds of the Australian perspective, because, they decided not to tour South Africa. And I spoke to the South African journalist, and he said that the team itself is definitely really, really upset. Not only the team, but the entire situation. But yet again, we have to live with the idea of this entire situation of the COVID-19 situation and the protocols. Even yesterday there was this one specific news that I talked about. There was one tennis player who in Australian Open, and she actually literally cried because of the fact that she couldn't really come out of that COVID situation scenario, and she played but she could not perform well. So it definitely does impact the quality of performances, but yes, you can't really make it an excuse. Anyways, with regards to the next T20 that's lined up, how do you see the morale of the boys? Because this T20 has been a phenomenal start for Pakistan. How do you see the second one lining up for us?
I think Pakistan team and the whole management and the players will be over the moon. The performance the Pakistani players are doing in the series. Pakistan won 2-0 in the test match, and now starting the first victory in the T20. So the confidence level and the atmosphere of the dressing room will be sky high, right. And the morale of the players. Although a few of the things which, as Babar Azam, since he became the captain, his own performance is on the decline side, and because he's occupied in other things, the other players' form, fitness, and the bowling changes while he is in the captaining the side. So he needs to step up as a captain, as a senior player, right, to do well for Pakistan. We got two more innings, 2 matches coming up. So other than that, Rizwan he became the second player for Pakistan who scored 100 in all formats of cricket. Right. Congratulations to him. Right. He's doing his form of life. He's enjoying his cricket. Right. If you see him behind the stumps, he's quite a jolly character, a lot of energy, always lift the atmosphere or the energy level of the team all the time. So if you see bowling department, the spinners did really good job yesterday. Right. Right. Although they were Usman is just starting his international career, and Nawaz is just back from his 1 or 2 years gap from the international cricket. So it's good to see them bowling well. Since we are missing our Shadab and Imad Wasim, there are few concerns. If you see the fast bowling, Shaheen is not bowling the way he should be bowling for Pakistan. His pace is down. His confidence is very down. Although he took 4 wickets in the last Test match, but skill-wise, he is not improving. That is the one thing. And again, Haris Rauf, we're not using him properly because he is a kind of a bowler which Pakistan needs to use him in the middle overs when the ball is old, when the fielders are outside the ring, and then he can use his pace, his skills. So these are the things which Pakistan need to rectify and to going into the next 2 T20s.
Right, and like as you mentioned, Usman Qadir, I think he did some phenomenal. He took some phenomenal wickets, not only with regards to how Milan was performing, and it kind of looked to us that they are absolutely not going down. But I still think there's a lot more level of commitment from the boys for now. And yes, there's always room for improvement, as you've discussed. Let's talk about the other test that has been happening lately. Let's talk about West Indies versus Bangladesh. The first test was definitely an interesting one because on an initiation scale, everybody thought that, because it was a big total from Bangladesh, and everybody was like, we don't think that, West Indies would probably be able to pull it off. But not to forget, West Indies really pulled it off as their debutant. Actually, Kyle Myers scored a double century. How do you see that impacting their entire morale? Because the second test match is still underway.
Actually, if you ask me frankly, I'm not following that match, but I still saw that scorecard on the internet that West Indies pulled that game off brilliantly because they were chasing a big target. Their debutant, as you mentioned, Myers, got a double 100, which is an exceptional performance for any player in international level. Making his debut in a test cricket, getting 200 while chasing. So it's a great achievement from him. And it's again, West Indies is a side which can surprise you. They can win 1 or 2 games in a year, in the whole year, like that. If you remember, West Indies has beaten England in the summer here, the first game of their series. So yeah, you can see some good performances from West Indies here and there, and then that was one of the performances. Another test is in process at the moment, so I'm sure they can continue their performances the way they won the last game.
Yes, I think we will definitely be seeing an electrifying match on their end as well. But for now, the situation scenario is like West Indies is still ahead of them, and there's this, they're still trying. Bangladesh, end of day two, they have 105 for 4, which obviously is kind of risky. But anyways, that's all with regards to cricket updates, and that's how it really works. Not to forget that we are currently seeing such transformational events like we've seen lately. England versus India, in India, making them lose. That's another story that we've talked about. And talk about Joe Root, how Joe Root has established himself as one of the finest cricketers. I'll just have your last take on Joe Root.
Actually, Joe Root is a phenomenal player in all formats. Since he's not playing T20 cricket for England, but at the same time, he's turned out to be one of the best captain England had ever, because his stats shows that he played 48 test matches as a captain, and he won 27 to 28 matches for England. So this is a phenomenal record for a player who is still got at least 8 to 10 years in him, because he's so young. And the performances he's given, if you see for in the last 3 test matches, he got 300s. He performed exceptionally well in Sri Lanka on a spinning tracks. He played all sorts of shots there: reverse sweep, lap shot, and conventional shots. So he carried on his form in India against a good bowling attack under pressure. So I think he's very calm and cool captain. The results shows and the stats shows that how good he is, and the way he conducts himself in the media and on the field. So it's phenomenal. Players need to learn from him. Right. He's a kind of a role model for any player or any captain.
Right. Yasir, thank you so very much for being a part of our show and sharing your point of views with regards to all forms of cricket. We've talked about Test cricket, we've talked about Pakistan versus South Africa, we've talked about West Indies versus Bangladesh, and we've also talked about India versus England. Well, anyways, that was the basic side of cricket. We'll switch over to the next news, which is from the world of football. Yes, Barnsley actually manages to win against Chelsea. Yes, 0-1 was the score, and Tammy Abraham actually scores again, and this time he manages to score and bring the Blues to the final, which is interesting how things are developing in the FA Cup as well. And not only that, Chelsea will definitely be facing Sheffield United at home on March 20th. So I hope it gets more and more interesting, because the world of football is still as affected as every other sport is. But anyways, that's how it is. From the football side, we'll switch over instantaneously to the world of tennis. Yes, let's talk about Australian Open. Not to forget, Rafael Nadal celebrated his victory against Michael on Thursday. And Rafael Nadal has been a champion since 2009, when he won against Roger Federer in the Australian Open. So he's back in his form again. So I hope things go well for him. And he basically won this match against Michael Moore by 6-1, 6-4, and 6-2. And that was the update with regards to tennis. And now instantaneously we switch over to the world of NBA. Yes, NBA, Boston Celtics won against Toronto Raptors 120 by 106 on Thursday. And Oily actually manages to score a high of 24 points against the Raptors. So things are pretty much in line with regards to these NBA players, and they're trying to put in their very best. And eventually, overall, Oily and Pitchford actually managed to score history by shooting 6 3-pointers at the same game, which is super amazing, and we wish them the very best. Anyways, this was the basic updates about sports from all across the globe. What you guys can do is surely reach us on our social media handles, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. Anyways, till then, take good care of yourself, and bye-bye.